I want to share with you an observation from my cocoon of transformation. I have been noticing that some good things springing forth in my life, in the life of our church, in the life of my friends. I've been noticing that several things I'm seeing emerge are things that were prophesied long ago, as if they had a timed release moment on them. And I'm going to use a story that is just causing me great wonder of something in the natural that's been happening to get to that end and to make a point. So, when I was a little girl, one of the many obsessions I had, it was pre-internet, so we were limited to books or what we could get our hands on. And to my parents' credit, they bought a 1965 World Book Encyclopedia. Oh, I loved the encyclopedia. I still have it. My husband keeps saying, "Do we need a 1965 encyclopedia?" I might have a soul tied to it. I would get out a random volume, and I would just read the encyclopedia. I understand some of you think how unique, but I did. And any topic. I didn't have any. I wasn't like, I'm going to become an expert. I just was like, I must know everything. And one of those topics, I think it was some character on a sitcom back in the day. I can't remember which one. It might have been from the Beverly Hillbillies. I noticed that you could be a bird watcher from some comical character that ran around quoting facts no one cared about birds. And so I got the B volume and I looked up all the kinds of birds, and behold, in the World Book Encyclopedia, vintage 1965, was this beautiful glossy plate with the names of about 30 or 40 different birds of North America. And I looked at them and I dwelled on them and I marveled at their colors and variety. And then I would go outside in my own backyard and look for them. And all I ever saw were brown sparrows. I never saw a colored bird. It was almost supernaturally disappointing. I mean, about, I would read and stare at this page of massive amounts of beautiful variety in birds, and then go outside and see a symphony of brown. I could not find a colored bird or anything other than a sparrow to save me. And even when we'd travel, we'd go on little vacations, and I would have my eyes peeled for those birds. But it was almost like my reticular activating system had focused on a sparrow, a brown bird, and that's all I was finding. I wasn't finding any of the color in those pages. Well, I grew up, I got older. I really never saw those birds that I wanted to see. Somehow during this quarantine, our 1 hour, not 1 hour, 45-minute, see how we exaggerate, our 45-minute walk that we take in our neighborhood every day, Paul and it started small, but it has just mushroomed. I have seen every bird I dreamed of as a little girl. I almost fell backwards looking upward as an oriole yesterday with his bright orange landed above us. I've seen a solid mossy green bird. It's been incredible. It's like, where did these birds come from? And I went straight back to those pages as a little girl, and that desire in me to see all those birds that it was reported to me God had made. And, even as I was preparing this message, as I was thinking through whether or not I would go this direction, I looked out my back window, and the brightest, most detailed blue jay was sitting right outside my window as if it were. I was astounded. What? I've waited. It's a 50 some odd year desert of not seeing birds, and now they're abounding. I'm just blown away. So I've really meditated into this, and here's what I feel. Isaiah 43:19, I believe it is, yes, is where it says, I'm doing something new. Behold, I'll do something new. Now it shall spring forth. Shall you not know it? And I felt like I heard the Lord say, Perian, I'm honing your powers of observation. And I thought, that's fascinating. Could that be one of the major purposes God is accomplishing in us during this cocoon period? Before we fly off as butterflies, the manifestation of who we were meant to be all along, is it possible that God is honing in our powers of observation? Now, I don't know if he's doing a new thing, like now some things are springing forth, or if they've been springing and I'm just now observing. You see what I'm saying? He's doing something new. There's definitely some time to release things springing forth. But really, is the springing in the natural realm or is it in our powers of observation? Really don't think we need to answer that question, because he's always working. And I think the veil, the thin line between spirit and natural, is overrated. I think we need to learn to be perceivers that see through the matrix. And we just see that as a thin veil and we see his purposes. You know, it's kind of like that thing of, I thought that so strong. I'm like, did I say that out loud? It's kind of like that kind of seeing. Lord, I saw that so real. Has that actually manifested? It's so real to me. I'm not even sure where I live with that thin line. But I just really am rejoicing because I believe there's some purposes that God has had cooking for a long time that are now springing forth because he's honing our powers of observation to participate with them. As a little girl, I wanted to see all the types of birds that supposedly dwelt in North America. I wanted to see the color plate that the encyclopedia promised me. In this middle of a global pandemic, we take our walk once a day, and I'm seeing all those birds. What is up with that? What is up with that is the promise of a good, good Father who's saying, I have not deceived you. The pictures of glory, the hope of glory that Christ in you is, shall not be cut short. I'm honing your powers of observation, and that's an inner work. I'm changing the way your reticular activating system filters. I'm changing the way you look for data. I'm changing the way you see. That's huge. So somebody out there today, grab hold of this. And I do believe there are prophetic purposes spoken over all of our lives, existing over all of our lives, that are now springing forth. Were they always there and we're just now noticing? Or are they actually now springing forth? Which is it? Yes. It's both. It's everything. There is a panorama of kingdom goodness. There's a vista. There's a landscape of kingdom possibility. God has not been holding it out like a carrot that you won't really see it. He's not showing you color in life only to reward you with brown sparrows. Sparrows are wonderful too, but you get my point. God can bring before your path the manifestation of all that is already real in the spirit. And he's faithful and he's true. And those things you saw gliding by as you spent time in his presence, they will find their partner in manifestation. The words of prophecy over your life will find manifestation. 50 years, I longed to see those colored birds. So much so I didn't even remember it was a longing until it happened. Such a deep and amazing phenomenon. It seems small, but as I've said before, is anything small at this moment? We're learning that size and distance, time and space, weren't as powerful as we thought because there's one big realm of God in the spirit. Press into that today. Spend some time with him. Your cocoon is a good place.